These are the standards being used for my lesson plan project. The content standards deal with history in Africa, particularly Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk and apartheid. And then on the right hand side, you can see the ITEC standards. The basic idea for this lesson is that students are going to research, starting with Africa, about apartheid and these civil rights activists in Africa, and then build on that to look at different civil rights activists and change agents throughout the world. This is an example of the Smart Draw website, which I gave my kids a choice about how they wanted to organize their apartheid notes. So this student, they took their notes and divided into like a mind map, and different sections and branches off those sections. It looks a lot like Microsoft Word, so a lot of the students like that interface. I also gave them the option to use Paint, which they're very familiar with, but this tool, a lot of students liked to map out their notes. So this is an example of students using story maps to detail either Nelson Mandela or F.W. de Klerk's life. So the student did Nelson Mandela, and so story maps, as you can see, it's a map of the world and it has pinpoints of different events or locations of those events. So for this one, you can put videos or pictures on there. So it has the different events, for example, like where he was born, where he moves to Johannesburg, gets a degree, and that's where the university is, elected the president back in Johannesburg of the ANC Youth League. He's arrested and sentenced to life, has the location of the prison where he was, where he is released, and has a video of him being released from prison. All the way back in Norway to get the Nobel Peace Prize, elected the first Black president of South Africa, and then in 2013 when he passes away. So that is an example of a story map that a student would create to detail someone's life. This is the student dashboard for Pen Pal Schools. I've signed into one of my kids' accounts so you can see what it looks like. So the topic we're working on right now is walking to freedom. So when they click on that topic, there's a couple things that they can do. The first thing is just meet other pen pals. This is more of like kind of the social part of pen pal schools. They can see profiles from different students and add the pen pals and connect with those students. My students are more focusing on their final project, which is the Change Agent Hall of Fame that they're using Pen Pal Schools for, but they're also working on introductions. They answer the question, how do people and groups around the world promote tolerance and racial equality? And then also, what is diversity? Why do you think that people discriminate against one another? So they have all these topics. Those two were the ones I had every student do, and they were allowed to pick other ones. So for example, if they wanted to pick another one, it gives them all of this information. There's videos, there's information about different topics, and then they get to share their answer and send it to other students and then discuss those answers. So the collaboration is really cool on this website with all these different topics. And then this is going to be their final project that they're starting to work on now, where they have to make a Change Agent Hall of Fame. So they pick either Nelson Mandela, F.W. de Klerk, or another civil rights activist that they have researched throughout this lesson. And they can create videos, animations, graphics, and more throughout this platform to make into a presentation about that person. And then they're going to share it in the showcase when they get done. So when the student gets done, they'll be in the showcase, and then it opens up in another tab, and you can see the showcase with all the different Change Agent Hall of Fame presentations that all these students have done. So that is the basics of what we're using Pen Pal Schools for, but what I like it for the most is the collaboration with all these different students from around the world, but they're talking about the same topics like diversity and discrimination with these students from around the world. My overall reflection for this lesson plan project would be to use a mix of tools students are familiar with first, and then build on that with some new technologies. It's good to lay that foundation with some tools that they know and familiar with, and then incorporate the new technologies. In any unit where discussions and collaboration are being used, a reminder about proper etiquette is a good idea. I learned that when my students were using that Pen Pal Schools, which also discovered is an awesome collaboration tool, and my students really enjoyed using it.